welcome to New Gameplay Today. I'm your host, Jeff Cork, joined today, as always, by Leo Vader, who's in the booth.
Hi.
Doing video stuff. Hi.
Hi.
And Suriel Vasquez, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Now, you're a big assassin in real life.
Yeah, I'm fairly large and have been known to murder people, so both of those things are true.
So I thought, why not have you here to talk about Assassin's Creed Origins? And as a fun footnote, you also incidentally played through the game in its entirety.
Yeah.
So you know a thing or two about this particular Ubisoft title.
That proved to be pretty useful when I was writing a review for it, having played through the game.
Well, let's see how useful it is while discussing this nearly 30 minutes of footage.
Whoa.
That's right.
This is you playing, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is me watching a cutscene.
Yeah.
But I am the person holding the controller while this is happening.
Now, what were you thinking while this was going on?
I was thinking that the chair that I was sitting in was a little uncomfortable. We did play it as part of a review event. But so far, I'm just, watching old PTOLEMY. Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Did you think, if I hit X and hold it down, will someone notice?
I was very trepidatious about, if I press start, will it skip the cutscene, or will it give me a prompt to skip the cutscene?
Yeah.
These are the modern dilemmas we have to deal with video games nowadays.
Yeah.
This is PTOLEMY. This is his era that we're in, correct?
They call it the Ptolemaic era.
He's very influential. 1 year later, we're in the Bent Pyramid. Why is it called that? Is it a spoiler?
It's not really a spoiler, but I also don't know.
Hey, Leo, you can fix that in editing. Make him say the right answer.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, so Bayek. Good grief. Fix that in editing as well, so I say the right word.
My work cut out for me.
So he is... I was on the cover trip, so some things may have changed, but I doubt this detail has.
No.
He is... what is basically at the core of the Assassin's Brotherhood.
That's right.
They were very cagey about saying he's not the first assassin, but he's...
he is instrumental to their origins.
Yes.
You can say.
All right.
I thought I heard that it was going to be the first assassin. I thought that was the whole thing.
Well, that's I think it's a distinction without a difference, as they say, but who knows? I haven't played the whole thing. Suriel can shed some light on that. Does it make sense?
It makes sense. I wouldn't say that there's you can find a complete through line between, this guy's like Altair's father or something like that. It's not that direct, but you definitely see the origins of the assassins here.
Oh, sorry, I'm going to make one more point before I acknowledge that we're actually watching a really cool fight. So it's basically like if you were to stumble on a hamburger bun, a hamburger patty, some lettuce, tomato, some ketchup. They're disparate elements. He puts them all together and says, now we are a burger, or in this case, an Assassin's Brotherhood.
Yep.
Okay, there we go.
Wow, you really brought that metaphor home.
I'm very hungry right now. So if you could fix that through editing
Also
somehow
fix the part
as well.
that he's hungry,
Yeah.
All right, so we're fighting a big guy, or you are.
This is a little showing off some of the changes to combat. As you can see, it's a little more lock-on based. It kind of looks like Zelda combat in terms of having a cursor and you following that cursor around the enemy. I do think the combat is a lot more active than it was in Syndicate, for example.
Interactive even?
It is interactive, just like all combat has been so far. But it is less about sort of waiting for an opponent to attack and then, countering them and then, in Syndicate beating the crap out of them with a walking stick or something.
That is exactly what I want to hear. I was tired of just waiting to counter everybody every fight.
Yeah, so this feels a lot more active. They mapped the controls in such a way that makes you think of Dark Souls, where the right bumper is the light attack and the right trigger is the heavy attack. But I remapped that. I didn't necessarily care for that control scheme. But as you can see here, there's a dodge, and some enemies will have unblockable attacks that you can't block, so you'll have to roll out of them. If you want to break someone's guard, you have to press the heavy attack button. You can get a power up later on that lets you sort of more easily do that. But I enjoyed the combat. There's less enemies at a time, so you can sort of engage each one separately. But there are also going to be sort of scouts, which we'll call reinforcements. There are archers, so you'll have to worry about those guys and sort of play a little tactical in terms of who you want to kill first. Do you want to kill the heavy guy? Do you want to kill the archer? Things like that.
Okay, I think I want to focus on this guy in this particular encounter.
Yeah, I fought him first. That was the first choice that I made. I didn't just run out and try to kill an archer here. That didn't exist.
I like the fact that you stuck with it too.
Yeah.
You didn't just change your mind mid-battle.
No, I figured if I'm going to take this guy out eventually, he seems important enough that I want to kill him.
Now, something else that's big here is you'll notice, you probably noticed this, Suriel, there's some numbers that appear over enemies as you're attacking them. What is going on with that?
So the game has a sort of more stratified RPG system. I know Syndicate had sort of levels that sort of blocked access to certain areas. So if you were like level 8, you were going to have trouble in the level 9 area. But this, I got to level 40 by the end of my time with the game. And what that does is every time you level up, you physically get stronger, and you get ability points, which let you put points into various skill trees and things like that. It also sometimes you'll get a sword that you're not high level enough to use, and so that also helps your progress by sort of saying like, here's where you should go. Like areas will be cordoned off by this areas from this level to this level is where you want to is how you want to engage with it.
And real quick, I should note that this is not just 30 minutes of straight footage. There is obviously some editing going on here. So, for instance, when you go through that secret hidey hole, it does not instantly transition to this, or does it?
Yeah, no, it does not.
Okay, because it makes very little sense, Suriel.
Yeah, so we cut a little bit just for the sake of time here, but this is a little bit later. So here, Bayek has returned to his hometown, and he's here with a friend of his, and these guards, they want to murder both of you, basically.
Really?
So you're going to have to use stealth to take them out. Well, you don't have to, but I use stealth to take them out.
You don't go in guns blazing? Or
no, I don't take out my Mac 10 and just mow everybody down. Not this time. As you can see, it tells you that if you approach an enemy, they will detect you.
Yeah.
Cool.
And some of the tenets of Assassin's Creed Stealth are here. You can whistle to people, and they'll come over to your location.
Classic.
That's right. You don't have your hidden blade just yet, so you are sort of non-lethally taking people out.
Blades out in the open.
That's right. Actually, you can also, even after you get your hidden blade, I think if you unequip all of your weapons, all of your assassinations will be non-lethal. So if you want to play, if you're a real master of stealth, you can play the game that way.
I love that.
Yeah, I think a non-lethal assassination is just an assault. At that point, right?
Well, I mean, you keep them quiet forever.
Okay.
I think with main targets, you do have to
keep them quiet forever. Then you just killed them. Then, Suriel, I don't know how to break this.
Well, they'll never speak of you again.
Okay.
But I think with main targets, I think you do end up murdering them. Okay. So you can't avoid those guys. But as you can see here, I'm sort of sneaking around. I mean, as is the case in most stealth games, the people are pretty dumb. Like, obviously, this person would obviously hear me in real life, but I can just walk up to them.
And the fact that he's just wandering around with a torch when it looks like it's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, these guys are not very smart.
Okay, so I know that we've talked about this in the cover story and in most of the coverage and everything, but I think it bears repeating. One of the big differences here is that if you look at the top, we've got kind of an Elder Scrolls style compass bar, which I don't know if that's a term. It's either compass or a bar, but that's Leo. You're going to want to.
It's an appropriate
as well.
I'll allow it.
Smart. So what did you think of that overall? Is it like are icons popping up at a comfortable distance, or are things like you're overwhelmed, like in past Assassin's Creed games where the map just immediately just becomes like a shotgun blast of diversions?
I definitely appreciated more. Obviously, Egypt is a lot larger than most of the other places in Assassin's Creed. It feels about the size of Black Flag's map with all the water islands and stuff.
But with sand instead of
ocean. But with sand instead of water. Although there's also some water. I can reveal that now. Assassin's Creed Origins has water in it. But so the thing that they do is they also they don't make everything an icon. So there are treasure chests everywhere that you can loot and stuff, but they don't mark those all on the map because they're not super important to what you're doing. Instead, they sort of every time you go up to a tower and you do the thing where you synchronize and get a whole look at the area, you'll get a bunch of icons that are question marks. And you're not going to know what they are, but sometimes there'll be a tomb that you can explore. They can be sort of the stone circles, which sort of give you some flashbacks, and just more substantive objectives. And because you don't know what something is until you get there, it feels like you're exploring the map more instead of climbing a tower and then getting a checklist of, okay, here's everything I want to do in this area.
It's interesting because I think in a lot of open world games, you run into that problem where they're so gorgeous, but you spend most of the time looking at that little mini map toward the next triangle or whatever. So I know obviously you're just shifting your attention upward to a line, but I don't know, some subtle way. I think that's going to make it a lot easier to kind of remain
it's harder.
involved.
It's harder to stare at that thing and just play through that. Instead of a mini map.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I didn't note. I mean, most of the time I did not miss a mini map whatsoever. So I'm glad to see it. Them sort of streamlining a lot of the stuff in ways that make you actually explore the world.
Yeah. So another big component here is loot system, which is obviously you've had different weapons that you could acquire and craft. I think Syndicate most notably had that element, but here you've got randomized loot.
Yeah.
What did you think of that?
I appreciated it. I like that sort of earlier you saw me press X and Y to do a special attack, and each weapon has a different power-up move. So the sword that I had there was just a lunge that did a lot of damage, but if you find like a staff or a spear, they'll just power you up and make you attack more quickly. So it won't be just one attack, it'll be a power-up state. And as you can see here, here's sort of the skill tree, and you can put points into different things like regenerating health during combat. A lot of the other things, 1 point lets you tame animals. But with regards to combat, you can find powered up weapons that have special effects on them. So some of them will heal you every time you attack. Some of them will set things on fire.
And here it looks like you're in a crafting menu, conveniently enough, and you've upgraded something.
Right. So you can upgrade your armor, your melee damage, the amount of damage your hidden blade does. So if you're attacking a fortress with like higher level enemies or some of those stronger captains, you won't be able to kill them in one hit unless you've upgraded your hidden blade damage.
Yeah, that's kind of, I think it's going to be kind of a polarizing decision.
Yeah. I only had a few instances where sort of not being able to kill them immediately was sort of an issue.
Yeah.
But I think I like that it sort of has you putting in points to like, I want to kill someone who's way stronger than me immediately.
So like a failed attempt, is it like in like Shadow of War where like an orc captain just shrugs you off?
Yeah,
you look like a big idiot.
You'll land on top of them and then they'll like, but it'll still...
Ouch!
They'll go, ouch, you've attacked me, and they'll bump you off and you'll have to murder them.
One other thing that's worth mentioning about the gear is that the first thing you picked up was called a heavy blunt, and nobody made a joke about it. A heavy blunt? So you can go ahead and hit that dislike button down below.
Yeah. We are not 420 friendly today, unfortunately. Yeah. Some of those rare weapons I think are really cool. There's a vendor that will have you do a daily quest that will usually give you a rare weapon. And I got a flaming staff that would burn anything that got in its way, including me sometimes. If I lit grass on fire and walked into it, I would take fire damage.
Oh, you Far Cry yourself.
Yeah, I Far Cry'd myself to death. But I think that's a really cool element of combat because it makes your weapons feel yours. Of like, oh, I found this. I happened to do the mission today, or I found this thing off a really strong guy. It makes you take ownership over those weapons.
Now they're also distributed in chests, and if I recall correctly, there's not a real world currency kind of transaction involved, right? So when we hear loot chests, we go, uh-oh, here it comes.
Yeah. But you buy so the way you buy these chests is just through your regular gold, which you cannot buy the gold that you used to buy those chests.
Okay,
but you can if you want use real money.
Even me. I cannot help you
to buy.
Not until I get my hammer and tongs back.
Here we go.
Microtransactions, you guys.
Oh no!
Microtransactions.
So they give you 200 helix points to start off, which you can use to buy like a bundle of resources, or reveal the map or reveal icons on the map. I use it to buy some resources, but you can buy weapons, you can buy outfits, which are cosmetic, you can buy resources, and they stratify them as time savers or things like that. I never really felt the need for them. I think that you can make the case that because there are resources to gather and because upgrading your armor and stuff requires those resources, that you can sort of buy your way into a stronger character. But again, I never felt the need to do that. There were only like 1 or 2 instances where I found the game kind of difficult, but for the most part, I never really felt tempted to spend money.
No, you just chopped up that statue with a sword, is that correct?
Yes, that is a statue of Ptolemy, who Baek does not like. So he is running around the world, and if you find statues, you're encouraged to destroy them.
All right,
for experience.
And before that, we saw you taking control of your own personal eagle, which you control.
That's right. So Senyu basically acts as your scout when you enter a village, or pretty much anywhere. So as you can see, as you saw earlier, you can find resources, you can highlight them, and then press A to sort of make sure that that icon appears on your map no matter where you are, so you can go track it down.
Yeah.
It'll tell you what that animal is doing. So if it's like sleeping, or if it's hunting, or if it's doing anything else, it'll say how aware you should be of this animal's location. And in most missions, you'll do something like that where it's okay. Where's my target? Okay, send you go find him, and then it'll be on your map. He's pretty useful, but there's one upgrade point that lets you sort of have him attack someone.
Yeah.
But that's basically most of what Senyu does, is just look for stuff and help you find it.
Ubisoft games that have both a scouting mechanic like that and a mini-map, it always feels like overkill and just like way more information than I need.
It's like belt suspenders.
Yeah.
But that in conjunction with the compass feels a lot more interesting, and like you said earlier, a lot more to explore.
Yeah. So here you can see that I'm still using stealth, and I found
expertly using stealth. Don't sell yourself short.
And I found that I still enjoyed the stealth because it is faster than fighting an opponent if you can stealth murder them. But I wasn't as afraid of being spotted, specifically because they've changed a lot of the way that missions work. So if you remember some of the past Assassin's Creed games, it felt like they had a lot of instant fail objectives where you needed to eavesdrop on someone, or you needed to follow someone, or you had to remain hidden for the entirety of the mission. I'm going to take this guy out while he's...
Luckily, they let you rate those really low.
Yeah, he's taking a leak, and I'm going to murder him while he's doing that.
Okay, can you rotate the...
I also just punched him like right there, so it's... Also, now I'm looking at it, so it's like really weird.
Classic stealth takedown animation.
But yeah, none of those mission objectives are here. You never fail a mission unless you die.
Okay.
You still have sort of objectives where you have to escort people or follow someone, but usually you're following someone to another objective. It's not like a thing where you have to stay at a certain distance. And if a target you're escorting dies, it's sort of a Fallout 3 thing where they'll fall, and it's like, oh, their health is low, they're gonna take a nap, and then they get back up, like a minute later or something.
Okay, check this out, Leo. So the mission fails when you die. Do you mean desynchronize?
Yes.
So
synchronized.
Very smart.
So the Animus thing is still part of this game, and there is a future contemporary world.
Oh my
There is a
God.
modern day story that takes
Suriel,
place.
please be quiet. That was an amazing segue. And we can't just move on to the next topic.
Okay.
The only
We have
time
to
that a
talk about
segue
it.
is successful is if you immediately derail the conversation and point it out.
That's right.
So
Makes it way
So
smoother.
you know it's good.
yeah, there you go. So talk to me about this
value.
modern day adventure, Suriel.
So in past entries, it felt like the future stuff was just like a story. It wasn't like, oh yeah, by the way, we're also in the Animus and we're going to take care of it. Like sometimes it felt like super non-involved, where it's just, by the way, this is happening, and then we're just going to show you like a cutscene or something. Here you do control a character in the outside of the Animus, and there's a sort of
First or third person?
third person, basically like you to like here. You can climb on stuff, and there's a small area you can explore. I didn't necessarily find it super satisfying, but that area is just large enough that I feel like maybe there are some secrets there that you might be able to find. You can explore a digital desktop where you can see lots of files and things and audio logs, and there's a couple story sequences with some minor revelations about sort of some of the what's going on in the present day. But it feels more involved than before, but it still doesn't feel like it needs to be around, because I feel like that's sort of been the series' kind of Achilles heel, is that the present stuff ever since like 3, where they sort of wrapped up Desmond's story, it hasn't felt as sort of necessary.
No.
as
How
it
have
used
they
to
not
be.
cracked that? They've had so many attempts and so much time.
They try so hard, darn it. And they
Yeah.
always have that guy. Hello, I'm that guy from all the future parts. And
He's
you're
not.
like,
He's not
I
in it.
forgot all about you.
Yeah, he's not in it this time.
Okay.
So it does tell like a self-contained story of the character you are controlling.
Yeah.
But again, it's like you could just as easily go without that entire story. They could have easily removed it and not suffered too much. But it is an interesting side story to explore.
Hey, on the subject of stories, what do you think of the campaign as a whole? I know you obviously don't want to or possibly can't go into huge spoilers, but was this a satisfying game? I know I'm not afraid to ask the tough questions.
I know. What? She's putting me on the spot here about video games. I really did like it. I think the supporting cast is a lot better than than the bad guys. Specifically, Aya, who you saw in that opening cutscene, who's your wife. I think she's a great character with a lot of agency. That she goes off and does her own thing. But then you guys also cross paths, and it's very clear that you guys love each other. And there's a couple of bad guys. I don't want to, point anything out specifically, but there's a couple of bad guys who they really build up in some interesting and satisfying ways. But I think most of your targets just kind of come and go at a pace that I'm not that doesn't make them memorable. Yeah.
Just another guy in a robe wearing eyeliner.
You are just told, kill this person. Here's their code name. Go do it and go do the mission. Yeah. But there's a couple twists in there that I thought were really cool. Yeah. And towards the end, it starts as they introduce, some fun historical characters. Yeah. Which they do the thing that kind of irks me a little bit, where they just have characters that had no place being in that world, like
Alexander Graham Bell's in this?
Yeah, Alexander. No, it's
Paul Revere scene is back.
They just have poets like Praxilla, who's a poet that was around this time. And she's just part of the resistance of I'm gonna help you guys. I'm gonna fight. Rhymes. Yeah, I'm gonna be a poet all over this guy, and he's gonna die. So that stuff is I know, kind of cheeky, and I'm not always a fan of it. But they do have some major names here. Obviously, Cleopatra's a part of it, but I won't spoil who else is part of it. But if you know the story of Cleopatra, I think you should have a good expectation of who's going to be in it.
Now, if we know the story of Cleopatra and her role within the larger Assassin's Creed universe, does it stick to that canon that they've established? I mean, it's not a spoiler. They've already they've built a freaking statue to the assassin who introduced the asp to her. So
it's hard to know how much retconning they do in that sense. Yeah. But I think they do right by Cleopatra in this game.
Excellent. I am glad to hear that.
Great. I have a minor question that's important to me.
Question from a minor. Thank you.
Hey.
Will you buy me beers?
I was just wondering if the gear. I'm going to stop that. If the gear is is this the type of game where you should not buy gear because you get better stuff in chests all the time?
Question. I never that pole that I told you, the scepter, the flaming scepter that I told you about earlier. I basically upgraded that through most of the game, and it got me through just fine. It definitely feels like weapons have per level a maximum strength that you can have. And so if you stick with one weapon and then you just upgrade it, I think you'll mostly be fine. You are getting stuff all the time. So I don't think that purchasing weapons with real money is really worth it.
Did you do that because the weapons maybe didn't feel as different as you might want them to be, that you wanted to try them out, or did you just love that one so much?
I mean, that thing lit people on fire, which maybe isn't the best thing to do, because that just means they're constantly yelling and writhing in agony.
So you can maintain stealth.
Even as they're maintaining a fighting stance, they'll just be going and it's just,
I hate this.
It got annoying after a while, but the amount of damage fire does was worth all the yelling.
You're a big elemental guy.
And you'd mentioned that there are cosmetic pieces of gear that you can pick up. How is the dress up element of the game? Do you feel there's enough flexibility in the costuming that you find without spending actual money, where you're oh yeah, this is pretty cool, or is it clearly pushing you along that path where it's if you want to look cool and wear an awesome Anubis mask, expect to spend Microsoft points.
So I
Rest
think
in peace.
If you want to spend that money, I think some of those outfits that they have are cool. Especially if you want to, I want to be Ezio or Altair, you can buy those outfits, but
and you can't unlock them otherwise. It's strictly.
Yeah, I think that those two specifically, I don't think you can unlock any other way. But there are a few outfits that you earn for specific quests or for completing certain collectibles. Okay. That I think are really cool. I think the outfit I liked most was something that I got from accomplishing sort of doing all of one type of activity, and I really enjoyed doing that one.
Thanks for all those details. Can you say what it was? Is it a bit of a spoiler?
I mean, do people know about the what are they called? Phylaces?
What?
Phylaces?
Follicles?
Yeah, the molecules. So, I mean, there are these bad guys. I don't know how to pronounce them, but there are these bad guys that are wandering the map. And they're, Phylaces.
Okay.
Is that what they're called? Sorry. I only played this game for 40 hours, so it's not like I know anything. So they're wandering the map. They're really high-level enemies. But if you find and kill them, they'll usually give you a really good piece of gear.
Okay.
So, and obviously some of them are going to be way higher level than you, so you don't always want to engage them, but they are sort of chasing you. So if one of them is around, the game will warn you like, hey, there's one of these guys from nearby, and they'll try to hunt you down, and you have to avoid them. And they can come up at any time. So one time, one of them happened to be wandering around a fortress that I was trying to do a mission in, and then he got involved in the fight, and it didn't go well for me.
Oh. What a blunder.
I know. What a heavy blunter.
Was there any super exciting stuff on the skill tree that you were like working towards, or is it all just pretty general?
Like I mentioned earlier, there's one that lets you tame animals, which is pretty cool. So you can sleep dart a animal and then tame them and have them fight for you. There's a lot of hippos around, so you can extrapolate from there. Some of the things,
He
some of
makes
the
the
cool things.
hippos attack the bad guys.
Yeah.
Leo.
Oh, fun.
There's one that lets you follow up your sort of powered up attack with a series of stabs, which are really cool. And there's one that enhances the amount of fire damage that you deal.
Oh, that's perfect for a certain Suriel I know.
Yeah, I know. So I went really hard on the combat tree. There's stuff that lets you assassinate two people, like one after the other, by throwing the world's most powerful rock. After you stab somebody, he'll stab somebody and then grab a rock and throw it at somebody, and it'll most of the time kill them.
Just brain them.
Yeah. So this is one of the later encounters. We kind of skipped ahead a bit.
Yeah.
But this is sort of one of the missions that shows off basically what the assassination attempts are.
Okay.
So instead of like having a specific set piece mission where it's like, oh, do this and then do this, find this, and then you can kill your target.
Yeah.
It just sort of says your target is in this fortress or an enemy encampment. Just go kill them. However you can manage it.
Is there any kind of intel you can gather on where they're going to be? Can you interrogate people?
No, but they do follow these cycles. So if you want to wait until nighttime, certain targets will be asleep then.
Oh, it's going to be very easy to do that.
Or their guards will be asleep, and you can just take out most of them without having to, raise the alarm. But here, as you can see, I'm trying to stealth my way up there, but then I'm immediately seen. So I have to.
You just
I do
totally
have to
Jeff
find-
Corked it there. So
Yeah. I dedicate this playthrough to Jeff Cork.
My idol.
Right. So as you can see, I'm not sort of breaking that guy's guard, so he's not taking any damage. But yeah, the lock-on I think works pretty well most of the time.
You're like that on a steady cam.
Yeah.
Hey, what?
Hey, what?
Hey, oh, what?
I must be seeing things.
Yeah. Who turned out the lights?
What is that noise? Is there like a waiting mechanic, like a Phantom Cigar type thing?
Yes, you can. If you press and hold the whatever that button's called, that's the two screens on the Xbox.
Yeah.
You can skip to basically change it from day to night.
I have one last question for you, Suriel. We're going to have to wrap it up. Did you get to play this on Xbox One X console?
I did.
And
I played
did you
it
notice
at
it was
4K.
appreciably better looking?
I definitely think the textures looked a lot better. A lot of the facial animations I think are really nice, but I did experience some performance issues during some cutscenes.
Okay.
So the frame rate would slow down a little bit, and I also had a couple of freezes where it would stop the action for about 1 to 3 seconds. But
Oh boy.
I only experienced about 3 of those during the 40 or so hours I put into the game.
Day 1 update.
Yeah, that's what they promised.
Yeah.
Yay.
So hopefully that'll fix it. Yeah, we'll see whether that's the case.
Suriel, thank you so much for
I
telling
knew I
us
could
everything
count
you
on
know
you,
about the
Sammy.
game, except for how it ends. And presumably you live forever.
I mean, I can tell you guys how it ends if you guys want.
Yeah, we'll take their answer off the air. And Leo, thanks for doing your job.
Thanks, Leo.
It's purely for the money.
Hey, and thanks for watching, everybody.
Just lying to
Bye.
burn his neighbor.